Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. So my name's Katie and today we're going to be talking about one of my favourite things to talk about, and that is the Stormlight Archive. So we have the lovely first three books here, and then Rhythm of War, which is the most recent book. It's so pretty. I forgot how pretty it was. And I'm mainly going to be doing, actually, we'll get them down. Got Panini here. She likes to fall off. A sort of updated unboxing of my Stormlight Archive tarot cards. So one of my very first videos was talking about these and talking about why you should read the Stormlight Archive and like the different characters and things. I do not recommend going back and watching that video because it was like the first video I ever filmed or the second video I ever filmed. So I thought it was more than enough time for an updated version, and obviously I love talking about the Stormlight Archive. I could talk for years. I have lots of Cosmere videos if you wanted to watch them. So let's just get started. So the Stormlight Archive, essentially what it's about is it's always very hard to explain, but it's a massive fantasy series. It's going to be 10 books long. There's 4 books out at the moment. And we're following this world called Rashar, which is kind of ravaged by these things called high storms, which are like massive storms that like sweep around the world quite regularly. And there is various different peoples. One of the main peoples we're following are the Alethi. And at the start of the book, the Alethi king gets assassinated by this mysterious assassin in white. And then these other people called the Parshendi sort of claim credit for it. So then the Alethi and the Parshendi go to war. And they go to war on this thing called the Shattered Plains, which are like planes which have been shattered. So that's the kind of kick-off of the book, and we're mainly following 3 characters. So Caledon, who is a slave at the start of the book, and he gets put into these things called the bridge crews, which, so at this war at the Shattered Plains, they have to essentially run with the bridges so the soldiers can like cross between the different can cross the chasms. So Caledon gets put in his little bridge crew, and then it's sort of like how to train your bridge crew situation. And I love Caledon so much. We'll talk about him when we get to the tarot card, but and then we're also following Dalinar, who is this high prince. So he's in charge of one of the like factions in the war at the Shattered Plains, and he is also having these mysterious visions. And then we're also following Shalom, who is in a different location. So she's travelling to this city called Cabranth, where she is trying to ingratiate herself with this famous scholar called Jasna, or Jasna. And she is there with sort of a hidden agenda. So yeah, that's very interesting as well. So yeah, it's just a massive like scope of world building, and like the characters are also great. And yeah. So I'll talk about the cards and like reasons why you should be reading it as we go through. So yeah, so these cards are from Tarajat. I'll put her little thing in the I don't know, the text function. So it should be popping up on the bottom of the screen now. But her art is so stunning. I'd highly recommend like following her on Instagram. She doesn't just do Cosmere art, she has loads, so it's all amazing. But these are really pretty. So I mean, I don't use these as like tarot cards, but I just like having the character art. And I actually have the stickers. So some of these, in my editions of these, I actually put different character stickers. But I wanted to get the like proper cards as well. So yeah, so we have the little guide. So this like tells you, it tells you what they mean. I could do myself a reading. So yes, so there's like different things that like tells you what each of the different cards mean. So yeah, that's interesting. Let's do that actually before we talk through the cards. So, and then you get the cards and they come like in this nice little band to keep them together, which is nice. Okay, let's go through them and then we'll do the tarot reading. So firstly we have a 0 and we have the Fool. So this is the character called Wit, who I actually believe Sanderson has said he was inspired by Robin Hobb's Fool, which I think tells you everything you need to know. So he is his role in this story, because he is a character who features in a lot of the Cosmere books. So that's the back of the card. I just want to do ASMR. I quite like ASMR, so that's the other kind of big area of YouTube I watch. So I like watch booktube and ASMR. So I just want to start tapping. You can see the like stories that he's telling, and they're kind of crafted, and he has his flute. So yeah, he's a character who appears in quite a lot of Cosmere books. It's called Hoyd, but he's known as Wit in the Stormlight Archive. And it's a very sort of knowledgeable character who's like that mysterious, just always there type character. So yeah, he's really good. It's like Where's Wally, but where's Hoyd? So it's always fun to try and spot him. And yeah, I love some of his stories. They're like, he always has a chapter per like Stormlight book, which is essentially just like a therapy chapter. So yeah, so I love that. I'll just show it again because it's so pretty. Okay, so then the next one, we're going from the top. So next we have Shalom. So I already talked about Shalom. She's the character who in the first book is trying to ingratiate herself with the scholar Jasna. And she is a very interesting character. She has a lot of sort of mental health challenges, shall we say, and she's been brought up in quite an abusive family. I think and she has quite a dramatic / tragic backstory. So we can see she also an artist, so she does a lot of painting. So she's got the paintbrush in her hands, and then these two sort of ghost figures who you find out more about throughout the series. And then she also has, so the other women always cover up their safe hands, which I think is their left hand. It's the left. So for some reason it's seen as very taboo in the Rashar world to have your hand on display. It's very scandalous. So they all cover it up, and I love the like fashions and things in the world. That's another thing I really like. So yeah, Shalom is a very interesting character. Okay, I'll do it this way. Okay, so then next we have the High Priestess, and this is Shalash. So she is one of these things called the Heralds. So there's about 3 different prologues in the Way of Kings. It's a very like set-up-y book, and I'd say I wouldn't recommend it as your first Sanderson book because you have to have a bit of trust in the author, because there is a lot of like exposition and setup. And I think I actually read something that was like, with the Way of Kings, just give it time to get into it, because I think it's so worth it. And like the first 50%, I would say, the Way of Kings, there is a lot of setup. So just be prepared for that. But yeah, so anyway, the first prologue is essentially these 10 heralds, and they sort of fight like to save humanity from these evil things. And at the start, these 9 of them essentially set up and betray one of them. So that's very interesting. So Shalash is one of the heralds, and she likes to desecrate all her art of her, because the heralds are essentially like almost like godlike figures in the world. And so that's why her like face is blanked out, which I think creates a really like interesting imagery. Okay, then next we have Navani. Navani is the best character. So yeah, the Empress. So she is the mother of the king. No, she's not. She's the wife of the king who gets assassinated, and then his son takes the throne. So she's now the mother of the king. And yeah, I love Navani. She's like a scholar, and in Rhythm of War is kind of her book, because I would say each of the books have a different character focus. So Way of Kings is Caledon's book, Words of Radiance is Shalom's book, Oathbringer is Dalinar's book, and Rhythm of War is kind of Navani's book. And I just love her so much. So yeah, she's a great character, great MILF, if you like fictional MILFs. And yeah, she's amazing. So stan Navani. Okay, then number 4, so we have the Emperor, and that is Dalinar. So he is, I don't know if you can see it well, but he is like the High Prince guy, and he has quite a dark past, so I think that's what this card is sort of trying to show. But at the moment he sees himself as like very honourable, and he's having these visions and like trying to do the best thing and like trying to whip all the other High Princes into shape. So yeah, he's a very interesting character. So that's him. Okay, and then next we have Renarin, who is one of Dalinar's sons. So he sort of, does he have visions? No, he has quite a lot of mystery surrounding his character, and I think he's going to be one of the main characters in the second half. But I really like him. He's so sweet, and I believe, okay, so this is kind of a spoiler, but it's also not a spoiler because it hasn't actually happened in the books yet, but Sanderson has said that Renarin and one of the other characters, Lorraine, can't really say his name, are going to be a couple. I just like gay Renarin. So yeah, so I'm very excited to see that, but yeah, Renarin's a really cute character, just like precious baby. Okay, the next we have, so I can just hear Maisie, my cat, running around. So maybe skip ahead like 30 seconds if you don't want a relationship spoiler. But so next we have the lovers, and this is Adeline and Shalom, and I love this card. It's so like happy and joyful. And I love Adeline so much. But yeah, I really like that card. So yeah, that's that one. Next we have Lift, and she's like this cheeky little feral orphan who loves food. She's always eating. And yeah, I love her. She's so like sassy, and I just love kiddie characters, which I know not everyone does. So in this picture she's eating a pancake, and one of the novellas, Edge Dancer, is about her, and she's trying to discover this like mysterious 10th pancake. I don't know if you can see her spren on here. So each of the characters has this thing called a spren, which is like almost like a magical bunny who gives them powers. And Lift's spren is called Windle, who is essentially like a bunch of vines, who has major anxiety issues. But yeah, Lift and Windle are such an iconic pair, but I don't think he's on there. But yeah, that's that one. Okay, and then next we have the love of my life, Adeline, and yeah, here he is with his shard blade. So in the world they have these like big armor called shard plate and shard blades. So they're like super powerful, and only like the really elite warriors, I guess, have the shard plate and shard armor. And it's quite a big thing, like winning them from other people and stuff. So yeah, and Adeline is another one of Dalinar's sons. He's such a like little himbo golden boy prince, and I just love him. He's so like sweet, and he's like the only like character who has somewhat solid mental health, and he's like trying to hold up all the other characters, and oh, I just love him. So yeah, a reason to read the Stormlight Archive is just for Adeline, because he's the best little himbo. I love him. Yeah, so if that hasn't persuaded you, then I don't know what will, but yeah. Oh. Okay, well, Caledon will persuade you, because Caledon is the greatest character of all time. The other day on Twitter there was this poll. The Broken Binding, a bookshop, do a lot of polls, and they did like one which was Fitz versus Caledon. Fitz from Robin Hobb. And that's like such a cruel poll. Yeah, okay. Okay, then next we have everyone's favourite Moash. So his is quite a dark card. Moash has a very interesting arc, which I think is actually a very interesting exploration on different people's reactions to very similar circumstances, because Moash and Caledon have a very similar past, but they react very differently. And yeah, Moash and Caledon are very interesting. But yeah, so Moash is a very interesting character, and I think he's very divisive in the fandom. I like the kind of details the artist has decided to do for his card. So yeah, that's that one. Oh, yeah. And actually I saw some other art of him with like these hands reaching for him, and they were like all the hands of, if you read the books you'll know whose hands they were. But yeah, that was just so good. Okay, then next we have the Wheel of Fortune, and this is a character called Taravangian, and he is essentially like this old scholar kind of thing, and he's made this deal with this like goddess, that he will have days where some days he'll be like super smart but lacking any empathy, and then some days he'll be like super empathetic but has like no brain cells, and then another days he'll be like somewhere in between. So he has these days where he has this like massive like load of inspiration, like discovers all the secrets to the universe, and he has this thing called the diagram, like he's trying to plot his way to save the world type thing. So he's a very interesting character. And I think this card kind of shows the duality, like the top one is where he's kind, and then there's when he's like clever. So it's like that saying, like, never be so clever you forget to be kind, but never be so kind you forget to be clever type thing. So yeah, I think he's a really interesting character actually. So yeah, that's that one. And then next we have baby Caledon, who is probably the main character of the series, and like the hero. And just I love Caledon so much, and he's just this like little grumpy, depressed. He's so painful sometimes to read about because he is very depressed, and he's one of my favourite like depictions of depression in the book. But his just drive to like keep going and keep fighting and just do the best he can and like protect everyone, and I just love him so much. And yeah, just read it for Caledon. He's one of my favourite, no, not even one of, he is my favourite book character of all time. Yeah, love Caledon. And then we have, next one is the Hanged Man. So this is Tal, he's another one of the heralds. I think this is a really cool art, like with the swords like piercing him and things. Tal has been through a lot, bless him. He's a very tortured character. So yeah, I think that's a really interesting art piece. Okay, then next we have Death, and this is Eshonai, so she's one of the Parshendi. So yeah, that's just really cool, like badass. We find out a lot more about the Parshendi in Rhythm of War, which is a really interesting storyline. So yeah, the crab, there's a big crab theme in the Stormlight Archive. Okay, and then next we have Jasna, who is another amazing character. She's just so like ruthless and sassy, and I just love Jasna. And like Shalom immediately falls in love with her, and you can see why. Yeah, and she's like a scholar, and she's very sort of feminist, I guess. She's very like, she's in a kind of man's world, and she's trying to take on the role of a woman, although no, that didn't even make sense. She is a woman, but so she's trying to like live in this society where women don't have a lot of power, but actually women are the only ones who can write, like men can't write or read for some reason. So I actually really like that, and like the women write these cheeky little notes for themselves. So yeah, I love Jasna. Yeah. Okay, and then we have the Devil, which is Odium. He's kind of the big bad, like the evil god. And yeah, I love this art of him, like looking evil, and he's got his like evil minions below him. I just think this is such a cool card. Yeah, so that's that one. And then we have the Tower, and this is Vanili, so she's Eshonai's sister, another one of the Parshendi. I love this, seeing this in detail, and Vanili's little spren. So yeah, I already talked about the spren earlier, but Vanili's spren is Timber, and I love Timber so much. She's just this little ball of light who like pulses with happiness, and oh, he's so cute. But yeah, Vanili is another really interesting character who I think you get a lot of in Rhythm of War. So yeah, but I just think this art is so pretty. Okay, and then so this one is just the like herald swords, because there's these 10 honor blades, oath blades, something like that. So they're these powerful swords which have magical properties. So that's cool. And then oh no, wait, this is Renarin. Who was the other one then? Oh, maybe it was Elikar. Oh yeah, so no, so when I talked about Renarin, it wasn't actually Renarin. This is Renarin. This was Elikar, so he is the new king. Yeah, Dalinar's nephew. And then this is Renarin, so I already talked about Renarin, so you know my thoughts on him. I can't believe I got that wrong. But yeah, so, and I love him and Adeline, they're brothers, and like their little brotherly bond is so good. So yeah, so that's that one. That's so embarrassing. Oh well. And then this is one of the chasms, so I don't know how well this is like picking up on camera. So there's a Bridge 4 member there, and I think it's probably Caledon in the sky. And like the chasms are really interesting. I love the like imagery of them. That's another thing I really liked about the Rhythm of the Stormlight Archive, was like the world building, and it's just so like atmospheric, and I love the storms, like all the storm imagery, and then the chasms are really cool with like the moss and the flowers and things. I don't know, it's just cool. Okay, then we have the best. No, Seth. So he is the assassin in white. And his POVs are the funniest thing you'll ever read. Like, he's so funny. He's so like doom and gloom, but in a hilarious way. And like, he has so many iconic quotes. Like, there's one which is like, "I don't want to study, I want to die." And I can't remember what the others are, but they're just so funny. And yeah, I love him. So yeah, he's the grumpy little assassin. And he is like, he has this thing called I think it's an oath stone or something, but basically he has to obey whoever's like got the oath stone at the moment. So it's interesting, and he's an interesting character, like a looking at kind of morality and who takes responsibility for it. So yeah, I love Seth. And actually later in the series, Seth acquires a certain sword who's very iconic in the Cosmere, which I absolutely love. That dynamic is just great. So yeah. And then finally we have the last card, and this is Sylphrena, who is Caledon's Spren. And oh no, it's not even the last card. I think this is just a bonus card. So yeah, so she is a great character as well. She's like a little sprite who is on Caledon's shoulder and like peps him up essentially. Yeah, so I love Syl. And this is such a pretty art of her. And then we have this last card. I'm not entirely sure what this shows. I think this is Odium again, probably. Oh, no. This is the Stormfather. So the Stormfather is like the god of the storms, essentially. Yeah, so that's that one. Okay, so now we're going to try giving myself a tarot reading. So let's shuffle. Shuffle. So yeah, I think I already talked about like all my favourite things. Like, the characters are such a big reason for me to read it. Like, they're just one of my favourite casts of characters. Like, all the Colons, you know, the big family, like Dalinar, Navani, Jasna, Adeline, Renarin. Caledon's kind of an honorary Colon. Elhokar, just all of them are one of the best fictional families. I love them all so much. They're all so iconic. Yeah, I just love the world building. Like, I talked about the storms and the like atmosphere. The kind of plot twists are so good. Like, I think there's one in Words of Radiance and one in like Rhythm of War where you're just like gasping. Oh no, it's Oathbringer. Yeah, basically all of them. There's some such good plot twists. And like the camaraderie and like friendships, and it's just all so good. I think the one thing that Branson is not the best at is romances, but actually I quite like some of them, and I'm really excited for Renarin and Rain. And then I quite like Adeline and Shalom, and yeah, so yeah, it's just a really good series. Can't recommend it enough. Like, the magic is also good. I didn't even talk about the magic. It's like these, basically Stormlight is harvested from the storms, and the like, I don't know, what is magic? Yeah, but then, so no, I did talk about the magic because it's like the Spren who essentially give people powers, and there's these like 10 different orders. So yeah, I feel like that's getting too much into the plot though, so you have to read and discover it for yourself. But there is a really interesting like magical system. I feel like it's a good balance of, it's very like scientific, but also there's a kind of element of mystery to it. So that's another really interesting thing. Okay, so we've shuffled. So now I'm just going to pick like whichever cards I'm drawn to. I don't know. Probably just, we'll do 3. I've been reading The Mask of Mirrors, so I'm into tarot at the moment. I've never done this before. But I just, whenever Ren does it, she always picks 3, so. Okay, so let's see what we've got. So we've got the star, the moon, and death. Oh dear. Let's see. So the star, hope, calm, and a good omen. That's good. Hopefully that means I'm going to pass my finals. Then we have 18, which is the moon, mystery, subconscious, and dreams. Probably means that I have crazy dreams, which I do. Because of some of the medication I'm taking. Ever since I started, I just have these really vivid dreams. So that's my interpretation of that one. And then death, let's see what that says. The end of something, change. Interesting. I guess next year I'll be coming to the end of my degree. I don't know. Maybe something will change soon in my life. Maybe I'll get a girlfriend. Yeah, so anyway, that was fun. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and yeah, if you haven't gathered, I love the Stormlight Archive, and I think everyone should read it, unless you don't like high fantasy, because I think it's very epic, and if you don't like fantasy, you won't like it. But yeah, I think if you're a fan of fantasy, you will really like it, and it's like a classic of the genre, so get on it. Yeah, and let me know in the comments if you've read the Stormlight Archive who your favourite character is. Mine is obviously Caledon, but I also love Adeline, and I love Syl, and I love Lift, and I love Windle, and I just love them all. I love Navani and Raboniel, who's not one of the cards, but she's, because you only meet her in Rhythm of War, but she is the best. Yeah, so anyway, if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like and consider subscribing if you haven't already, and I hope you're all having a really great day, and I'll see you next time.